What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Weightlifting Scoop. We are on a roll. We got Andy Coggins again, one of our regulars. So, what's going on, buddy?
Man, living the dream. Just got home from dinner with the family. Excited to chat it up with you again.
Yeah. So, you had a crazy incident in the gym since we last talked. So I know you may not want to talk about it, but I'm going to bring it up right off the bat. But you guys had some flooding and stuff happens. Like you own a gym. We see SoCal had a fire. I mean, holy smokes! Like there are some peaks and valleys when it comes to gym ownership. So just kind of wanted to dig in and see how things are going with the gym and talk through some of that for the people out there that might be experiencing some things or in the future might have to because they want to jump into gym ownership. So
The biggest thing is don't do it. Stay as long as you can in somebody else's gym. No, I love my gym and what I do. Lots of trials and tribulations throughout my journey since 2016 or 17 now. Um, Along with a lot of legal stuff with landlords and things like that. Our latest Jumanji incident was we had a flood. Um, my platforms were underwater, my barbells were underwater, and I had no idea until I came back in the gym in the afternoon. I was there that morning. We were doing our personal training sessions and our team training for the morning. Me and my fiance left for lunch like we normally do around noon. It had just started raining. And we got back to the house, had lunch, and no big deal. Didn't think anything of it. Took a nap, went back in the afternoon, and the gym was underwater. So, needless to say, had to close the gym that day. Was surprised, scrambled to get all of my equipment out of water. Of course, alerted all the necessary authorities, insurance and property management and all that good stuff, because we've always, transitioned and pivoted really fast with how we do things, and I like to get things done. So working as quick as I can. Hey, the boys are going nuts. Hey, guy, stop. And get the whole thing started. And luckily, property management jumped on it fast, which in the past, our previous landlords were terrible. Anytime there was an issue, they wouldn't help, or anytime they didn't like something, they would terminate our lease. All this just terrible stuff over the last like 6 years of having our own space. And to have a landlord that, or a property management company that jumped on it and recognized it was their fault, um, was refreshing to say the least. The next day, we were in the gym and taking apart platforms, and the water was still there. So we knew we had to get down and remove all the flooring to have it cleaned and sanitized, um, so that we could get the gym back into, you know, shape to be suitable for our athletes to train there safely. Mold and nasty germs and all that stuff. So we got all the platforms apart. We got every stall mat about, I don't know, I think we're right around 5,000 square feet of stall mat. So, what's quick math? What's 24 or 5,000 divided by 24?
well, it'd make it easier if it was 25, but I'll do that math in the background. All right, so it's like 208 stall mats.
208 stall mats plus whatever else I might have had to be drug out of the room just so we could get to all the water underneath it. And the platforms had to get up and set up somewhere dry where they could dry out, where we could find out, are they damaged? Are we going to need to rebuild or rebuy and rebuild, or just rebuild? I was able to take apart the barbells and find out, do we have water damage? Um, Luckily, the property management popped in quick with uh, water damage services, so restoration came in and we were able to, soap up the floor, soak up all the old water and get it dried up with vacuums and all that good stuff. They installed humidifiers, had mold test people come through to make sure we were good. We did have some mold pop up, so be prepared for that if you have the issue.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to get it ripped out and re-drywalled as we needed. Luckily, we were good enough that I was able to get it dried out and clean enough that I could set up a couple of temporary platforms within about 3 days. So in 4 days after the flood, my athletes could come in and train if they wanted to. We were able to set it up, and I was able to show our athletes that you can train on these little temporary platforms with a couple of the bigger guys. Did some big lifts on these platforms that are just kind of pushed together, just so
Hmm.
that I could show them like you're safe. If he can do 170 kilo clean and jerk, you can do 80. It'll be okay. You know.
So
Um,
let me ask you a couple questions. So like, how much water was actually were we talking like 3 inches, 4 inches, like
well,
enough where everything's off
yeah. So,
underwater? So
so I don't know how high it got, but I do know that when I got back to the gym, the water line was just below the top of my platform. My platform is 3 layers thick of 3/4 inch plywood, so or 3/4 inch material. So 3/4, 1.5, 2.25 inches, and it was just below it when I got back to the gym about 3 hours after the hard rain. So the barbells were definitely underwater at some point. There was mud across the top of the platform, so I know it got up high enough to get over the platforms.
oh wow, there was mud on the platform. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah,
I didn't really know because honestly we haven't talked about this, so I knew it happened and
yeah,
I had texted back and forth with you, but it was all very like high level stuff, nothing in detail. So I didn't realize there was mud or like how far
right.
the water actually got up there.
So
So
what actually caused the flooding was um, I I'm on the first floor of my building, and it essentially is a first floor, but also a basement, depending on where you're standing outside the building. I am on ground level on the side that we normally use for our entrance, but on the back side of my building, what I consider my backside, there's an upper parking lot. So there's a big retaining wall, and some of the drains, there's some big oak trees out behind the building in the property. And some of the drains up top had been clogged up with the hickory gumballs. I mean, if you're from the South, you know what that is, but it's just like it looks like a different version of a pine cone. It's about the size of a golf ball, and um, these drains had clogged up, and the rain had finally not had somewhere else to go and had filled up out of the drain, and then it came up over the wall and straight down into the back of my building and just washed all the way under the building instead of water how it works, like if there's a crack it's getting in, it doesn't matter. And it washed all the way through my building. We had water all the way into the center of the building on all sides, even in the bathrooms for the male and female bathrooms. um, and we had some issues with drainage on the other side where it was coming in from the other side too. So it was a big deal. Um, they were able to get
actually
it.
I didn't realize when I was there because thankfully we had our little like co-camp like Rising Tide All South Barbell camp a couple weeks before this happened.
Right.
So we got through that. That was a great time. So and when I was there, I've only been to this location a couple of times, and so I didn't realize in the backside that there was a higher ground level. I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was all on the first floor, but it totally makes sense now that I'm visualizing driving to the exit. I know that you kind of go up the hill and go
Right.
back down it, so that makes sense.
So luckily we were able to get it worked out where they were able to get all the water up. Mold guys got all the drywall fixed. We started putting things back together, but we had to clean top and bottom of every stall mat outside in the parking lot, then drag them all back in. And any of the listeners that know anything about dragging stall mats, that is a job, especially when they're wet from either the flooding or being washed and sanitized. That's an 80-pound drag and a forearm killer. A funny thing about that is my MacBook has a fingerprint to unlock it. And I was dragging so many mats at that time that I rubbed my fingerprints off, and my MacBook wouldn't open. I had to type in the password just to get in my MacBook. So I joke with Molly a lot about I should have gone and robbed a bank at that time because I could have got away with it. Um, but it's a lot of stall mats. We got that done. Some of our members were great. We have some. wonderful cornerstone members in the gym, and whenever there's work to be done or something going on, they always pitch in. A lending hand, a tool, some of their time, whatever it might be. And they all help me out when they see me out there, dragging mats and killing myself trying to get the gym back together. So within probably a week and a half, I had about half the gym refloored and some platforms back down. I have a couple of wild members that decided to tell me we should reorganize and rearrange the gym while we're at it. And I'm like, man, come on, like I just need the gym back together. I don't need all this extra work. Um, but of course, they put the idea in my head, so of course I did it. Um, so we reorganized the gym, put up some extra racks and all the good stuff for them to be happy about it too. And I've still got a bunch of equipment to get out, dumbbells and kettlebells and all this extra accoutrement that we had. And I've still got around 50 or 60 stall mats to get out. Is that right? Yeah, something like that. I got about a quarter of my stall mats that I still have to get out, and a bunch of the little cuts for the nooks and crannies that were left over. So we're getting there, but we probably still have, if I work a little bit every day on getting it back in order, it might be 4 or 5 days of work. If I commit myself to one good full day, I can probably knock it out in one day. But I try not to kill myself like that anymore. I'm almost 40.
Yeah, I mean, one day where you basically have a week to recover from, so you might as well split it up a little bit. But
Exactly.
I mean, especially it's not like I mean, you do have your event coming up, right? You have a weightlifting meet that you're hosting, so you want it to look a certain way by that point. But it's when you own the space, it's not like there's an event tomorrow that you have to have everything exactly in a specific spot. But
Right. I
it's
just
kind of
need to
like,
be ready by next Friday. I'm in good shape if I do that.
yeah, and yeah, it's a good space. But for all intents and purposes, you're up and running and you're functional. So it's just not exactly how you want it to look right now. Is that right?
Correct. You know what? As a gym owner, if anyone who wants to do this in the future, you should know that your gym is never going to be the way you want it.
Yeah, I mean everything that you do is always work in progress. Just like you can dissect anything and say, hey, I would rather it be like this. And so that's why my favorite saying is you should learn to be happy with like where you're at while you pursue what you want. Learn to be happy with what you have while you pursue what you want. And I think that's really really important to have that feeling where you're content, but at the same time you should always be striving for more, right? I think a lot
Absolutely.
of a lot of people forget to be content in some way, or at least like you shouldn't be completely satisfied, but you should celebrate those wins. And nothing ever stays the same, man. Chaos theory. So you get it exactly like you want it, and then people use the chalk and they use the plates and they break your 10-kilo plates. Not on purpose. Nobody's trying to do it, but those are just fragile plates. So once you have it perfect, it's never gonna stay that way, or stay the same.
I'm a little crazy about my 10 kilo plates and my 15s, and I don't let people load on top of them. I always tell people like load the bigger weight, load the bigger weight. And you know what? We haven't had a plate break since 2020, and we had one break the other day, and I was ready to cry. I was like, we've done so good, and they're more expensive than ever right now. Come on, guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. Plates are not cheap. It is funny though because when I train, I train alone, and so on my own plates, and um, I'm experienced, and like if I'm lifting 50 kilos or whatever weight, like um, it I can lower it real easy, and like
Right.
I know I'm not gonna miss 60 kilos usually. I mean, it's probably happened if I hit myself in the head, but in the past 10 years, I haven't really missed like 60 kilos very frequently. So when I'm at one of your camps, I have to be careful because like if I'm at home, sometimes I might just throw in a 10 and do 40 in the snatch, and then throw in a 5 and do 50, and then throw in another 5 and do 60, and then I'll get to the red. Or I might do
Okay.
stuff. I like to load 120, like a 15, a blue, yellow, blue, yellow. That's like a pretty common thing that we always did at the Olympic Training Center. It's kind of like if you watch like Chinese weightlifters train, they do it. And because the most common first weight when you snatch probably above 120 is 50 kilos. So you just throw in a yellow. and a lot of times people do 50, 70, 90. So instead of doing 50 and then taking it off and putting on a red, we typically would put on a green, take off the green, put on the blue, go to 110 and put on the green, take off the green, put on the yellow. And if we worked up to 140, we would get to the point where we had a yellow. So it's 4 plates on a bar. And that is a safe way to load, but it sets a precedent in the gym where other people will start copying what you're doing. So, like, obviously, if someone's lifting 60 kilos and that's a higher percentage of their maximum and they miss it and they have 2 5s on there, that's going to be terrible for that 10 kilo
Right.
plate.
The biggest thing is like, it's a little bit strict, but I've learned that as long as we condition our new members to the idea, it's not a big deal, and it's fair, completely fair across everyone. I don't care who it is. I'm going to remind you, I'll give you a freebie, and then I'm going to, shake my finger at you the next time. The big boys help that lift the most weight help, teach the younger people, and the younger people help enforce it with the new people and teach them. And you know what? I hear from people all the time when they come back from out of town or lifting at other gyms that they got compliments on um how much etiquette they have with other people's equipment. And I'm like, it's because you learned it here, and it's nice to hear that like our respect pays forward at other people's gyms too.
Yeah, and again, like if I own a gym, I would consider having those rules too because it makes
Right.
a lot of sense when you're talking about in mass. But just when I lift in my garage on my that's different, right?
Very, very
Because
different.
that's only one person lifting on one set of plates, and so it's gonna last a long time, and it's not in mass.
I do
But
catch myself when I'm lifting, um breaking my own rule if I'm in the gym and I'm like, wait, if somebody
oh,
walks
don't
in, I
say
look.
that.
No,
Somebody's gonna.
I absolutely catch myself doing it, and then I'll change it. Like, because if somebody walks in, then it's just a huge thing of, like, why are you making us do it if you don't do it? And so, like, I always catch myself and I chuckle and then I change the weight. Um, but same ideas. Just, and I don't have anything against anybody lifting that way. It's just, this is my equipment. That's all.
So when something like that happens, like you have a disaster. Kind of moving on to the topic where you have a disaster in the gym, like SoCal had the fire. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going on with them, but through your experience, you might know a little bit about like who are they calling or like who are you calling? You're calling the property manager to just let them know this happened. Is that the first person point of contact there?
Yes, the first place I called was the property manager. They got in touch with the maintenance, and got everybody over there they needed for the night. Then called insurance just to make sure they're teed up and ready to go. Property management got in touch with mold and all that good stuff. So it was really those two for me. And then it was communicating with my members like, hey, don't show up tonight unless you want to help me move equipment. Um, that was pretty easy. Luckily, we have with them kicking in the way that they should. Um, I didn't have to do as much, but in previous situations with different landlords, it would have been a lot more involved. I would have been calling the mold people. I would have been calling people to get rid of the water. It would have been all on me. But luckily, they helped out a lot this time. Funny thing about it's not funny about SoCal. That's terrible. That's the wrong way to say it. The funny thing about the thing with SoCal though is when I got to Colorado, I knew Chris was already there, and when Chris saw me, he was really excited. He's like, "You're the only person that knows how I feel right now." And we had a good conversation about, what we're going through, what we're doing, ideas about fixing it and what to do. So, I hope that Chris and SoCal are doing pretty good right now and moving forward on what they need. I'm sure we'll hear more about it soon from them because Chris is always turns up on his feet.
Yeah, I mean, for you, it definitely sucked, but at least this was a situation where you could get functional in a few days. In his situation, what really is tough is that the building's essentially condemned. They can't do
Right.
anything for a few months.
Can't pull their
And
equipment
then,
out. They can't do anything.
yeah, so they can't do, um, yeah, they're just stuck in a holding pattern. and they can't really get a new space going, right? And certainly the same space is not going to be functional for a very long time. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's like a slightly different situation. So it's when stuff happens, you kind of gotta count your blessings. I guess it could always be worse, right? But um, I told you this, but I'm sitting there yesterday. I bit into my fork, man.
Oh yeah,
I was
yeah.
I was just eating, and like if I had bit it with my whole tooth, no big deal. But I just scraped it, and like it was a tiny chip, but I still had to go get it fixed today. And like God, I just hit it at the wrong angle, at the wrong. Just I was eating a salad, and just like something happened in a hurry. I like bit down wrong or something. Just
That's what you get for eating salad. You should have had a cheeseburger.
yeah, I wouldn't have done it if I was using the plastic forks that Ashley prefers. That
That's right.
yeah, I was trying to treat myself for once, and look at what happened. My teeth can't handle it anymore.
Using the fine china, it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah, but it could have been worse, right? I guess I could have actually like chipped it and had a big dental procedure, but luckily they were just
Absolutely.
able to go in there and not numb me. And I was actually worried because I was like, I don't know, I might be numbed and I won't be able to talk at all tonight. So
I think
am I
that would
going to
have
be able
been
to do
great,
this?
great to watch. Your whole half your face is just numb and not moving, chewing on your tongue. That would have been great.
Yeah.
The people want to see it.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, you don't get that tonight. But yeah, kind of Pan Am's last episode that we did, I was talking with Jeremy Warner. Maybe that was 2 episodes ago, but we were like halfway through Pan Am's at the time. I think Maddie was lifting, so there were still a few folks to go. Like Colby hadn't gone yet, Aaron Williams hadn't gone. Um, I think like before the episode ended, like we were like literally doing the episode as Maddie was lifting, so we didn't know that she had won yet. She was about to clean and jerk. So Maddie lifted and Mary lifted. So anyways, yeah, really successful Pan Am championships for the team. Like I thought it was pretty awesome.
They had a great team down there, and Colby is a special young man.
Yeah, obviously like uber talented.
Hmm.
Won both the snatch, clean, jerk, and total. Now, being that you're on the board. Did you know that West was going to retire? Because I mean, I saw him on the start list, and then he walked out there, so that was kind of a neat thing. But I didn't necessarily know that was happening.
I did not know it was happening. We haven't even spoken about it, but I would say that I don't think anybody did on the board. If they did, then it was not relayed to me. So, but Wes has had a great career. He did a lot for us in the last two quads for points and things like that. Um, so if it's time for him to move on, congratulations on a great career.
Yeah, he definitely had a great career, and well deserved to have that moment. I just wasn't expecting it. I kind of heard through the grapevine he was considering retirement, but then when I saw him on the list and everything, I was like, okay, he's cutting to 94, and I think to get to the point where the uh, the weights on the board, he had to have made weight, right?
I
So
mean, if he's in the session, yeah, you have
yeah,
to make weight to be back there. So I'm
so
guessing he did.
so I presume that he actually made 94 kilos and is that small. So it's kind of interesting because it's like, man, that's a lot of work to cut all the way down to 94. So I'm surprised that he didn't lift or doesn't want to continue. But I understand at the same time, man. I mean, hey, two-time Olympian, I think three-time Pan Am champion. So yeah, did all the things that most people want to do, short of medaling at the Olympics or Worlds, but did awesome, had a great career. So yeah, congratulations. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, he'll hold his American records for a little while. Well, no, because the class changed, right? So his records are his.
Yeah. And so I think like 177 was the record, right? So that's kind of like the symbolism there. Is he actually made those changes to get that weight on the bar and then walked out there and retired.
Right.
So yeah, it was like meaningful, and he made a post about how P. Rose got a little teary eyed, probably reminded him of his retirement, and um, saying that that meant a lot to him to have somebody like P. Rose get teary eyed, which is to move a lifter like that, it means something. He had respect for his ability, which is probably hard to do for somebody like P. Rose. So
Absolutely. That guy must be great to be out there and have him in your corner.
yeah, so kind of getting to Colby though. Uh, yeah, total freak athlete. I haven't watched the weightlifting house episode with him. Have you seen it?
No, I've been engulfed with all the stuff at the gym. I haven't caught up on anything.
Yeah, same here. I mean, not with the gym, but just life in general,
Hmm.
working, kids, all that good stuff. Um, but I did watch his session, and yeah, the weights he did look good. He, got called for an elbow touch, and then I think missed the jerk on the third. But basically, 215's an opener, and looked very, very solid. So that's a high opener. So when you look at the results, um, he's got a lot of kilos left in the tank there. Could probably hit a 400 kilo total at the next meet, which for a 110 kilo lifter historically in USA weightlifting, I mean, Wes is the only person who's done weights like this right here. Um, I mean, you could go back a little further, and there have been weights like this lifted, but in a time where there wasn't as much drug testing nationally or internationally, so maybe under
Hmm.
different circumstances.
Yeah, it'll be
Um,
interesting to see how far Colby goes. I know he's got big plans and a good coach to help him get there. So, um, I'm on the edge of my seat watching. Every time he comes up, I'm interested to see at least the results and what he's doing, progressing meet to meet.
yeah. Uh, so he took down all three golds, and then Aaron Williams came out and was in a really tight snatch session, got bronze, but won the clean jerk in total. So, and this was a more competitive Pan Ams than ever in the supers. Usually the supers like Kane used to be able to go, or um, Kaiser or whoever, and if they hit anywhere close to 400, they were winning.
Right.
But third place totaled 407. So, yeah, totally different total set. So Aaron had to hit a 411, which is really a phenomenal total. And he's, also one of those athletes who's a freak athlete. Probably if you had to prioritize the people who genetically, Colby, him, I mean, you can't say Hamp isn't genetically there too, but Hamp is a workhorse. So I think these guys were just kind of like people who weren't weightlifting, played some other sports, and man, they just kind of have like the it factor when it comes to athleticism and
I heard a
strength.
story that Aaron Williams was a truck driver.
Really, I had no idea.
I don't know if that's true. I think we should try to get him on. I haven't talked to Aaron at all. Um, so that would be a pretty cool story that he got out of the truck seat and snatched 400 pounds.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I had never heard that, but yeah,
I'm
certainly
probably
possible.
wrong. It's probably something I made up from something or somebody told me. You know what? But I believe it until I'm told differently because it's cool.
Well, it sounds kind of badass. I mean,
Yeah,
Gabe's an airline mechanic, so
he is. Can you
that's kind of
imagine that kid crawling through a wing of an airplane because he's the little guy on shift?
yeah.
He's strong, man. I like Gabe. Yeah, we had a great team out there, and it was Mary's first meet back on the platform, right? Our big platform, and she had a good meet, I think.
Yeah, she did well. She was in a tight battle, and kind of again, the super heavyweights on the women's side have improved tremendously. Usually, if you did a 278, you would take down Pan Am's, maybe not easily, but comfortably. The Cuban lady came out and did a 280 and ended out winning, but obviously in tip top shape. If Mary's fully prepared, she
She has
based
that.
based on the numbers, she I would put my money on Mary, but I've never seen this lady before, so I mean, I don't know anything about her. Like, how old is she? Um, like how long has she been lifting? There's some unanswered questions there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens because if she just showed up out of nowhere, I mean, Olympic qualification's getting ready to start up over the next 2 years, so yeah, we're gonna see a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. I think in terms of like the U.S., a lot of people are going to have battles to get on the world team or, next year and different things in their weight classes. And you might have two people in the same way that like Jordan Dela Cruz and Haley Reichert going into the last squad had legitimate chances of making the Olympics and medaling in the Olympics. There's other weight classes like this. Like, Olivia's probably going to move up to 77. Where does Maddie go? There's a lot of people that are up and coming for the 69 kilo weight class. A lot of junior lifters, 63 kilo weight class as well. You got like Katie Eastep. You got Sophie Shaft. Like, who comes out and really establishes themselves as the top lifter, and then any third lifter kind of might get put in the same position that like Meredith Allwine got put in last quad, where it's like she could potentially medal at Worlds, but doesn't get to lift in her own weight class, or in this case, as it gets more competitive, even go. Right?
And you know something else that's kind of interesting beyond nationals is Jenny Arthur quietly went out there and made the A standard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was pretty awesome. Definitely uh, rooting for her to do amazing things. I like to see someone who hasn't been lifting for a while, and it's funny because I probably view Ginny as being like a younger lifter, but she's kind of an older lifter now.
Yeah,
and
she's probably in her early 30s, right? At this
yeah,
point.
yeah, I think so.
But
I'd have to look real quick, but
hmm
Ginny
but
Arthur age. Let's do a Google search. 31 years old. So yeah, I mean she's over 30, and that's crazy to me because I remember like she was like the junior lifter, and I was already like an established lifter.
well, she's definitely back in shape. She made a good like 243 total or something, and she was
Yep.
smiling the whole time. Like it wasn't hard work. It didn't look like it at least. So Jenny, she's always got that really good technique, and if she's on the platforms, you don't count her out.
Yeah, I talked to Norick a little bit at nationals, and um, we know each other a little bit, and he basically said that when their son goes to bed, she just kind of goes back to the gym and does training like 4 times a week. He was like, everybody assumes that like I'm super involved in her programming and coaching and stuff, and he's like, of course I'll answer questions, but really, she's just going 4 times a week, just like relieving stress and knows what to do, and just it kind of just happened that she got good again.
All you
So
all you moms out there and stuff, just get back in the gym and do something. You can still be strong.
yeah, and it was almost kind of like bittersweet where he was like, I hope that the pressure doesn't, because like now there's expectations, right? She was secretly working and was doing this stuff, and then now she went and made the world team, and everybody's gonna be like, ooh, that was her first meet back. What is she gonna? And there's gonna be these expectations even on herself, and it does change things. So we'll see what happens. But again, another lifter training 4 days a week. Interesting. Like Olivia trains 4 days a week. She's training 4 days a week, and she's also someone who has trained 9 times a week.
Right.
So in Olivia's case, like Olivia has never built up to a full time training schedule, even though she does a lot of training and recovery. So, what's she doing outside of the gym to recover obviously is very meaningful. But Jenny was at a point where she was already getting a large dosage of training of 9 times a week and still is doing well on 4 times a week. So I honestly, in theory, wouldn't have expected that as much from her just because usually once you expand your training to 9 times a week, it's kind of hard to get a boost from 4 times a week, right? Just because you're doing so much less. But you got to hit that sweet spot, and maybe the
And
time off kind of.
I probably deconditioned her a little bit where she could do that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because the same way like alcohol or something, like if you take a tolerance break, like you drink a couple beers the first time, you get a little tipsy and you have positive effects, but not too many negatives. The more you drink, the less it affects you, but also the more side effects you start to have. In the same ways, like you start training so much, you get injured, you start having these bad side effects as well. And then you kind of take a tolerance break, and
Hmm
uh, and you kind of can come back to the baseline a little bit.
That's what
So
I'm banking. That's what I'm banking on for 2026 for me is my tolerance being so low that I can get back to newbie gains.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Just stop training for a few years and then training one time a week. Just we'll get super scion.
yeah, that's the goal. You know, just gets really strong all of a sudden, surprise everybody, show up at Masters Nationals and just win.
Yeah, so let me count up a couple things. So on the men's side, uh, I'm just gonna count up total medals. One, two, five total medals, and then three of those were gold and two were silver. So that's amazing. If I'm counting that up correctly,
That sounds wrong because if Colby got 3 medals, Aaron got 3 medals, Hamp got three
I'm
medals.
I'm just saying just for the total.
Oh, just the total. Got it.
Yeah, just the total. So Gabe got second, Caden got second, Hamp, Colby, and Aaron got first. I feel like we're missing someone. Was there? So there was seven lifters, right? So, but
Gabe,
Wes, yeah,
Gabe,
Gabe got second. I was counting him.
Gabe, Hamp, Caden, Colby, Aaron, and Wes didn't lift. Who do we have in
Yeah.
the Who do we have in the 88s besides Ginnon and
Okay. Yeah.
who who was there
I
besides
I was
Eddie?
forgetting about Edward.
Right, but did he medal?
He did not medal, but he did well. I
Okay,
don't know what place he got. I think he
okay,
got like fifth place. Yeah, that
okay.
was a very competitive session. I mean, 79, 357 total won. Caden did 352 and got second, and 347 got third. Historically, that's a really tough podium. Like, if you look back, 347 would usually even win the meet. Um, like, probably a 340 would typically win, although 79 and 77 is like a little different. A couple more kilos, you can do a little more, but yeah, that 357 is big, and obviously Caden 352. That's really nice total. So very competitive there.
Yeah, our men's team is looking really good for the next quad. We're looking stronger than last time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say based on at Pan Am's, it changes at the world level. At the world level, our women's team is hands down more competitive than our men's team. But
Hmm.
at Pan Am's, this was the first time in a while where I was like, wow, I feel like our men outperformed the women. And maybe it was just a perception of my expectation. Um, because obviously the women did awesome, but we have an expectation of that now, because it's been
Right,
regular. In 2013, when I went to Pan Am's, the only two people that medaled, male or female, well, I think there was another a female lifter, but myself and Donovan Ford were the only people who medaled. So it wasn't like a common thing where like every guy goes to Pan Am's and medals, right? Um, and then in 2014 we had a few more medals, but yeah, this year like almost every lifter took home a medal, which was really cool to see. And the interesting thing was like Jordan Dela Cruz is one of the lifters that didn't medal, but historically she's one of our best lifters. And maybe she cuts down to 48 again and wins next year, right?
right.
So the
And
point
the
being, she,
possibility is there is like she's another one, just like Jenny. Don't count her out. She's just getting in shape.
yeah, and like she just didn't cut and or is just kind of coming off the Olympics. So I only say that because historically she's probably one of the most accomplished Pan American lifters that we have on the women's side. So it's just kind of ironic when you look on paper. Out of the people that you would pick off a list to be like, who's one of the best lifters here? You're going to point towards Jordan because historically. So yeah, that's how competitive that it was and how good they performed.
Hmm. So they just had a an NTP camp out at Colorado Springs. I think they just finished today, and it looked like it was successful. A bunch of the youth were there.
Yeah.
Did you see anything about that?
I mean, very little. Only what was posted, right? So like, I have no insight. It was the junior developmental lifters, but they're doing some jumps on force plates, doing some testing, lectures, all the things, just trying to build a community. And I think that's great over the long term. Like when I was a kid, I got the opportunity to go to an OTC camp, and that's one of the things that really inspired me to keep training because it was such an amazing opportunity. And when you go there, you're like you see like Apollo Ono, who at that time was like a famous skater, is winning medals, and you're like, this is crazy. I'm eating lunch next to him, like I'm somebody, and it gives you that motivation to keep training. And so I think those camps are great, man. I have a lot of amazing memories at the OTC, and I'm glad that they get to experience it.
I talked to one of the young men out there tonight, and um, I asked him, was it his first time in Colorado Springs? He said he had been there for nationals, of course, but had never been there to go to the OTC. And I asked him, did he go to the Olympic Museum while he was there? And not to lie to me, but did he cry at the end of the movie at the Olympic Museum? And he said, "Yeah, I definitely got goosebumps, and I definitely started crying a little bit." I'm like, "Okay, so you're not lying to me because if you said no, I'd know you were lying."
What are
Anybody
they?
with the Olympic Dream is that's a hard hitting movie.
Don't let me forget to ask about the Olympic Museum in a minute, but yeah, the OTC is super cool. I mean, the first time you go there, especially, and I was really worried when they cut the program there, the resident program, that they weren't going to be able to host camps because I actually lived there as a resident for like a year and a half. But from my experience, I don't think that residency is a big advantage. I think when you live there long term, it's not great. I think when you go there for camps that are 1 month and less, that is awesome. I think once you have a full time job and a family, and there's very few people like that are still able to make world teams, but they exist. Um, it's kind of hard to go out there for a month, right?
Right.
But if you have the ability to, I think a month is a really amazing sweet spot if you just are able and USA Weightlifting can support it and you can go out there with a handful of lifters and really grind. But it is repetitive. The first time you're out there, you get to schedule massages. They have like recovery boots, cold plunge, sauna, hot tub. The food's great. It's made for you. One of the tough parts is prepping food as a lifter when you're trying to count your macros and do all this stuff, right? It's very easy to get steps because you're walking from training to your dorm room. Um, there's not really too many negatives on a short term basis. I mean, the bathrooms are, it's kind of like a dorm room experience. So if you were there for like months and years, it gets repetitive and frustrating. And it can get to the point where if you live with these people, they're the only people you're hanging out with, and like weird stuff starts happening. Everybody starts hooking up with everybody and knowing everything about everybody and talking about everybody, and it gets weird, right? It's like a little small town, but like
Yep.
way worse than that. And but when you go there for a month and less of the time, none of that stuff happens. Everybody's having a good time. You get after it, and then you go home. So I'm
You
so
know,
glad they're able to keep doing it.
one of the coolest things we've been there a couple times for board meetings, and I think the coolest thing about the OTC food hall is the hot sauce uh, wall, where they have all the different hot sauces that you could think about from anywhere, and you can try all these different kinds of hot sauce.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't seen that. That must be kind of a new thing in the past few years. But
I'll get a picture next time we go if we go out there again.
yeah. You know what they used to have? A Budweiser keg.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, this was before my time, but like in the early days of the OTC, Budweiser was one of the sponsors, and they literally had it in the food hall. You could pour yourself a beer.
That's actually
Uh,
pretty cool, actually.
Now you
Some extra
can't.
calories and,
Yeah, now
relax.
you can't. I mean, society's changed a lot, and a lot of this is probably for the better because as if you're really trying to be an athlete at the highest level, like drinking beer daily or having the temptation of doing that is not going to be smart, right? So,
Based
uh,
off some of the stories I've heard from my coach about how they did things in the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that, I can see that getting wild.
yeah, yeah, weightlifters used to be really crazy. like way crazier than I am naturally, that's for sure. Everybody used to know each other at the meets, and there was a small town feel, but like a broader small town feel than like the OTC situation. And you would come to these meets like once every few months, and it was really awesome because the sport was almost so small, there wasn't even cliques. It was like everybody knew everybody, literally. Like now, I know less people than ever in the sport, and it's like so much bigger, or at least it seems that way.
It's a lot bigger than even when I really got into it. So,
Yeah. Um, but weightlifting used to be a lot crazier and less professional. Like even the younger kids, like a lot of people who were interested in weightlifting, or maybe their parents were weightlifters and got them into it, a lot of them were kind of like the troublemaker kids. And maybe they weren't like really bad, but they still were like kids that like to drink and, you know, smoke weed and do stuff like that. And some of that's okay, but like, it- you know, to the point where you're like partying at the OTC when you're not supposed to, like it's not smart. It always makes you a little uncomfortable when you're like more of a rule follower.
you know, um, one of my athletes hit more PRs when he was coming in hungover than he did when he was sober. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe he's just a special athlete. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think
maybe
that
Budweiser had the right idea.
yeah. I don't know that alcohol affects your performance as much as like if you're someone who gains weight easily, it can screw up your body weight more so than your performance on a day-to-day basis and like the weights that you're lifting.
Hmm.
Like I don't really think it's good for you in the long term anyways, but I think that it's not the devil per se. But for some people, it like for me, if I have a couple beers, like I'm gonna be a couple pounds heavier for like a few days. Like it's really gonna bloat me, even though it's not real weight. It doesn't really have
Right.
tons of calories unless you're drinking tons of it. But but yeah, I don't know. I liked when I first went to international meets. We would we were allowed to drink, and like some people were a little irresponsible, and when I look back, like maybe at junior worlds and stuff, and we're like 20 in Colombia and we're drinking and we're on the streets, like in hindsight I'm like I would not want my kid to be doing that kind of stuff. However, the like literally zero drinking policy is a little awkward, but I get it because stuff happens and you have to like keep your liability down. But even now, like other sports, not necessarily Olympic sports, but if you do like powerlifting or something and you go to like international meets, like there's the Pan Ams for powerlifting's going on, the lifters are posting about like, hey, I did well, I'm gonna have a few drinks and stuff, and not doing anything crazy, but just they're over 30 and they're having some drinks as they should be able to. And I think now when you go to the banquet, it's a little awkward, but you know, at the same time, you can't have like junior kids drinking. It's not legal here, and like even if it is in the other country, so it's just super dangerous and puts a lot of liability on USA weightlifting. So
Yeah, I mean, they're coming from a CYA position and just need to take care of themselves. And if it means keeping kids safe, whether it's not fun for the kid or not, I don't see the problem.
yeah, and even like as a kid, I totally understand that. Like I wasn't really even comfortable when I was a kid doing that kind of stuff, but so I certainly wouldn't want my kids or kids that I coach to do that. But definitely when you're above 30 and you like win Pan Ams or like medal at Pan Ams or something, it can be awkward. Like we were in Germany and they're like offering us a special kind of beer and we have to be like, no, get away from me. And they're like, it's like your Italian grandmother cooking you something and you're turning her down. She's like, that's not allowed.
Exactly. You can't do that. I know that when we went to Cuba, of course, same rules were in effect. And when we got back, while we were waiting for our flight from Miami to Atlanta, we had to enjoy a refreshment after a successful trip.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Um, but anyways, man, yeah. All things being said, great Pan Am's performance by both the men and the women. I think first timers like Miranda Early. Uh, she won Pan Am's first senior international meet. That's really awesome. And then Katie Estep. She's won youth meets, but she's never made a senior international team to my knowledge, or if she did, it was last year. So, she got second, so that was good to see. And then, Maddie winning and Olivia breaking world records. So,
Yeah, Maddie is interesting. She had just had that health issue. She's something about some kind of mini stroke or something a couple weeks before nationals. So it was great to see her go down there and be successful.
yeah, it was pretty scary when something like that happens. Not really sure what that entails. But they basically gave her the green light and just said, so she did a test run at nationals.
Hmm.
Obviously, it had just happened there, and she missed her opener. She actually missed, like, because Deb was in that session. She missed her last warm up and her opener. So I was like, oh, man. Like, and then she came and looked really good after that. She made every single lift after that. And then at Pan Am's, she did well. It was like gritty. She missed some attempts and had to go up and wait and made it when she needed to. And, given the situation, hit a really good total and, did what she needed to win. So that was cool.
I think that's really interesting because I don't know the health stuff that she went through. I don't know any details, but I do know some people that have had strokes and the motor issues that they've had and things like that. I think it's amazing that Maddie's able to move that well, um, regardless of what may have happened, because it was mentioned as like a mini stroke. To be that strong still, that athletic, um, that cognitive ability that she has to still make those lifts and be focused and stuff. So I think that's great.
For sure. I mean, the TIA is different. The nickname for it is mini stroke, but it is different than a regular stroke, of course. But still, it like can fry your nervous system, and it
Right.
takes a while to recover from it. So it doesn't do the same thing in a way where you like have to relearn how to do things, but at the same time, your brain just feels fried for like several days, and like you just basically have like no energy to do anything. So with the tight turnaround to national specifically, that was right in the time frame where she probably was super low energy, you know, probably low confidence because you're just like, I'm going to test this out because I want to see what happens. Because she was traveling to Pan Am's and was like, if something happens, I want it to be in the States. I don't want to be in
Right.
Colombia where I don't know if the hospital's good, anything like that. Like, I want to see, can my body travel? How does this feel? Does it tank me too much? And then make the decision to pull out of Pan Am's if she had to. But obviously, it went well enough. So,
Kudos to
um,
her and some good coaching and support system.
yeah, I'm glad that I don't live in Florida. She trains in the heat down there, and Dan Russell's been posting. He's on our team, and he was posting about the heat. They had like it feels like 118 degrees. It's like I'm sure it's like that in Georgia right now too. But
It's yeah, it's bad.
it's been tough. I mean, even in Rhode Island, I'll get in my truck and it says 102. It's not actually 102, but probably has gotten up to 97 a couple times this week, which is highly unusual. So
Yeah, I think it's a little bit hotter everywhere right now. Global warming and all that, polarized caps, and it's just bad everywhere. Bad.
yeah, last summer, I don't think we had more than a week that was over 90 degrees the whole summer, which was a very light summer overall. And then this one's, it started out pretty tame, and then we've had two heat waves, which are highly unusual for up here. But hey, I bought up on a hill, and the beach is at the bottom. I thought it was a $65 million, or no, sorry, year investment, 65 million year investment to be waterfront, but it might be only a couple years. We'll see what happens.
There you go. Now we're talking. We just got into our hot stuff here in Atlanta like 2, 3 weeks ago. We started seeing 90s, and we'll see 90s all the way through early September.
Gotcha. So you're not going to AO2 or
Uh,
Virus
I've
Weightlifting
got
Series
I've
2?
got one athlete going out there. I do believe that I may try to fly out one day and fly right back the same day because there's so many flights in and out of Dallas from Atlanta, and I'm a Delta Sky Mile monger, so I may try to suck those up while I got a chance. But it's just one athlete.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got three. My dad used to live in Fort Worth, and he decided to move back to Georgia after several years living out there. So, that contract got signed, and I was like, oh, Fort Worth is cool. I was hoping that they would sign one in Atlanta because I have ties to Atlanta. Masters Nationals was there last year. Salt Lake City's cool, but I have no ties there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we'll do our best to get them back to Atlanta soon for you.
I think it is cool that they're doing the Masters Nationals with Powerlifting America again. It's not the Senior Nationals or whatever they call it, the Open Nationals, but it is it's like their universities or something. So,
Yeah, something like
but
that. I haven't even paid attention to the news bulletins, honestly.
yeah, I think that's neat though. I think it would be really amazing. This will never happen because these meets require too much room each. So, but if we had our senior nationals with their senior nationals, that'd be super cool. Um, I don't know
That
that's realistic though, but
it would probably require a space like Atlanta or what we saw in Pittsburgh, where they had enough room that they could separate us.
like our senior nationals actually doesn't have as many people anymore, but we combine it with nationals week. So I guess it's possible that we could have one of the platforms um, switch it over to powerlifting and run on two platforms because
Yeah.
their open nationals probably isn't huge either. They did have two platforms in Atlanta, but they could probably do it on one over the course of 3 days. I don't know.
Worth a conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyways, man, guess we've been on here for about an hour, so we can jump off. But what else you got?
Uh, that's about it right now. We got to meet next week. We said that already. And then we just dive into fall training, getting ready for Daytona. That's about it.
Cool. Where can people find you?
Well, same place as always. You can look me up on Instagram, coach.andyc or at All South Barbell. Um, yeah, that's about it. That's all you need from me from now.
Cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. My name is Travis Cooper. You can find me at Travis Cooper 77kg on Instagram. Let us know if you have any questions or topics or people you'd like to see on the podcast in the future. We'll be back soon. Bye.